Take the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio as we delve into the enigmatic world of UFO sightings and extraterrestrial abductions. Join us for conversations with leading experts and individuals who have encountered these otherworldly beings, uncovering secrets about their experiences, contact stories, and the profound implications for humanity. Listen as we reveal the incredible narratives of those who have undergone alien abductions, shedding light on the psychological and spiritual impacts of these encounters. Explore the depths of consciousness and spirituality as we discuss how these experiences may connect us to something greater beyond our understanding.
Met you on the back row. Phone screen glow, slow motion halo. You say hit that follow. Next thing, we're flying over cargo. Swipe up, then we lift off. Both feet leaving this floor. Highway like the kid drum. You said you're ready for more. Coley UFO, beam me up, beam me up. Lights go whoa, turn it up, dance on the stars, feel the cosmic drop. Coley UFO, we never gonna stop. Beam me up, UFO, all night. Coley shining extra bright, top 10 hit. We're trending worldwide. Coley UFO, take me for a ride. Hands up in the main room, neon dust on my white shoes. You spin me like a typhoon. Lost track, but I'm locked on you. Baseline in my cage, oh yeah. Time warp when you say my name. You smile, then we time lapse. Two hearts in a hyperdrive lane. Coley UFO, beam me up, lights go whoa. Turn it up, dance on the stars, feel the cosmic drop. Coley UFO, we for more. Coley UFO, beam me up, lights go whoa, whoa. Turn it up, dance on the stars, feel the cosmic drop. Coley UFO, we never gonna stop. Beam me up, you are there all night. Coley, shining extra bright, top 10 hit. We're trending worldwide. Coley UFO, take me for a ride. Beam me up. Hands up in the main room, neon dust on my white shoes. You spin me like a typhoon. Lost track, but I'm locked on you. Baseline in my cage, oh yeah. Time warp when you say my name. You smile, then we time lapse. Two hearts in a hyperdrive lane. Coley UFO, beam me up, lights go whoa, whoa. Turn it up, dance on the stars, feel the cosmic drop. Coley UFO, we never gonna stop. Beam me up, all night. Coley, shining extra bright, top 10 hit. We're trending worldwide. Coley UFO, take me for a ride. Spin me around the moon, low gravity. Every little move, new galaxy. Closer, you're my supernova. Countdown, 3, 2, I disappear with you. Disappear with you. Coley UFO, beam me up, lights go whoa. Turn it up, dance on the stars, feel the hype and drive. Coley UFO, we're never gonna stop. Beam me up.
So, welcome everybody to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, as you know, also known as Coley UFO, and tonight we have the beautiful Miya StarFire. I just want to say real quickly, I apologize for any sort of issues. We were trying, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, or if I'm wired into, that might be the issue. I thought that's what you're supposed to do, but yeah, so if I apologize for any of that. And Miya, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. Got a little run in and saw a rainbow, and so my day's pretty made right now. How are you doing today?
Good. You saw a rainbow? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I love seeing rainbows. It's my
Oh,
favorite
that's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I always remember as a kid, I'm like, I wonder really if the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow. I always wanted to find it, but you never could.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going through chat. I don't know if you want to start at the bottom and I'll start at the top, and we would just make sure that we have everybody. But
Okay.
just wanted to welcome everybody here. Say, it's great always to see each and every one of you. Moon at noon, of course. Hello, Miya. She's right here.
Hi.
Blazer, it's nice to see you. And
Yeah.
yes, Kitty Whack. Then Gary, nice to see you. I don't know. Do you have some too, Miya?
BMR is here. Hey, BMR. Wojo. Gary Spikester. Chiro Sounds. Lori Land. Spiritual Ascension. And on my channel,
Andrew.
Midnight or Midwest Night Watchers over here, and Valdo's over here on my channel. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw Bigfoot Dwarf. Nice to see you, BMR, always. So yeah, without further ado, it's definitely hopefully StreamYard is not causing issues today, but we have a very special guest, Geraldine, and she's absolutely she's great. I've interviewed her one other time before. She's very impressed by her. So she's a prominent figure in the field of UFO and extraterrestrial contact experiences, known primarily as an experiencer, researcher, advocate in matters related to alien abduction and human hybridization programs. Her professional background encompasses extensive expertise in holistic and energy healing, and she possesses formal training in 12 distinct energy healing disciplines, which is very, very cool. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR therapist. She's a psychotherapist. Oh, see that yeah, everybody knows I was a therapist for 7 years, so that's awesome. Hypnotherapist. She's got all sorts of things, but yes, I'm gonna let her come on. Tell her she can tell you a little bit more about who she is and what she does. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
This is lovely to have you. I apologize for the issues. I wasn't sure like going on back, but yeah, I apologize that there was a couple issues starting, but we got it all figured out, so we're good.
Oh,
We just
no,
might not be streaming to I guess maybe X might not be, but that's yeah, just to let everybody know.
perfect.
Yeah, so why don't you introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is Geraldine Orozoco, and I'm an epigenetic psychotherapist and clinical hypnotherapist. And I guess my work started with my own experience after going into retreat for about 4 months, where I had a conscious contact experience, and it just completely shattered my reality and changed my paradigm and everything I knew to be true and believed to be true. Of course, I was already digging down many rabbit holes before that, since I was pretty young, but that was a catalyst. And as a result of that experience, I developed psychic abilities, like literally the next day. And it kind of ripped open the veil between myself and this multidimensional realm that we live in. So for several months, I had to kind of re-educate myself on how to be a human in this world with heightened sensitivities. And I went back to learn about... Yes.
I apologize. We have they're saying the intro is running over top of the show.
Yeah, that's what I see too.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, I see it too. Yeah.
Oh, it's not showing this on my end.
I wasn't sure if that's how
Thank
your
you so
show was.
I'm just gonna. This is so crazy. I can't. This is not even showing up on my end. I don't know. I just saw BMR. BMR, thank you too for calling.
There
is
it
it
goes.
still?
Yes.
going?
No, it's good. You got it off now.
Yep.
It's good. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So could you hear music in between too? Because like I could only hear one song that was playing. No wonder you're like everybody's kind of I'm like, what's going on? I didn't get to the so thank you for call BMI. I started to read the chat. So yeah, so you should be all good now. You guys, I'm not seeing things on my end. So if anything like that happens again, definitely like wave your arms or something. Stop me. By all means, stop me.
Sorry, I thought it was just the way your show went, so I had no idea. But yeah.
Oh gosh, no, you're probably like, what is this? What did I get myself into? I love it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Oh, well, anyway, so that's the start of my story, and I could go wherever you guys want to go.
Yeah, no, I think that it's awesome. You talked about how Maya and I both are experiencers. I encountered my first craft.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
Oh, did we lose you? I think you
froze up.
Yeah. Connection is true.
Well, yeah, I have experienced crafts this past I don't know 4 years. It's been extreme for like the past year. So Are you an actual experiencer like with crafts in the sky too, or is it mostly like consciousness work with you?
Oh no, like for me, my experience was actually I was in front of gray beings, 7 foot tall gray beings with a craft, and then I was I was taken to the planet Maya. I was introduced to hybrid children. It was a really impactful experience. But what it helped me discover is that I've actually had experiences since I was a child, and so did my family, actually. And then after that, I had more contact later on. So so we can talk a little bit about that. But yes, everything from UFOs and then interdimensional interaction since I was a child.
Oh, wow. And did the contact happen first, or did like the consciousness and like the gifts part, did that come in first for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because I went into retreat for about 3 months, and it was then when I was unpacking some layers of my own programming where I went into the rabbit hole where I began to question reality and where do our programs come from, just as a whole, as in humanity. And that's when I had this experience where a bright light entered my room, and then I had this interaction. So the next day, I was completely psychic, like all my psychic abilities opened up. I could see and feel everything. And it took me a while to understand, first of all, the connection between those two, right? And then next, realize that kind of an experience had been happening to me as a child. So I did hypnotherapy, regression therapy in 2017, 5 years after my experience. And then that's when I started to recover further memories of other experiences as a child, not only UFOs, but also other interdimensional interactions. So which came first? Technically, technically it kind of started really early, but consciously, I think it really clicked when I was, in 2013.
Yeah. Me and Coley have had the same kind of similarity things happen and we've noticed it's happened to a lot of different people too. Like you have these contacts, and then all of a sudden your gifts just start expanding, and then you're integrating all the spiritual aspects. So that's amazing. So what is it that you like specialize in? I got to watch a little bit of your video like before from I think you did a interview about 3 months ago, but I don't know too much about you. So
well, my specialty is epigenetic psychotherapy, and I kind of combine several different elements of psychotherapy, but primarily the somatic connection between trauma and DNA. And the reason why I ended up there was all because of my contact experiences. And when I had my first hypnotherapy in 2017, and I began to recall all those experiences as a child, I was so shocked that even I went into an existential crisis after my own hypnotherapy, because I just couldn't understand how I was able to tap into that kind of information. I downloaded massive amounts of information about the origin of the human race, and then the hybridization programs and deep military involvement and things like this. I mean, the whole history. And I mean, I've never read a single book on the topic before that moment. So I've never spoken the word Anunnaki or beings or, none of that. Like my world was so far from that. And so I wanted to understand what happens to us psychologically where we can have the capacity of pulling that kind of information into our realm of consciousness. And I became interested in that. And I went back to school and then studied clinical hypnotherapy and then epigenetic psychotherapy. The majority of the work that I received through the downloads of those, actually, all of my hypnotherapies are public. You can actually hear them and watch them on YouTube, because you're kind of looking at how I'm kind of discovering this information over the years. And the majority of my information is about holographic DNA and the morphogenetic field. And so again, I have no background in any of that before that moment. And so I had to go back and kind of learn and see if what I was talking about had any truth to it. So that's where I started. And then I funded hybridmother.com, which is an international support group for contactees that are having these kinds of contact experiences, to research contact. And the connection between these kinds of massive downloads and how are we tapping into that. And so the primary area of my research from that is essentially noticing how contact is passed down through generations. and really happens in families, right? So it's something that we carry, and we carry a lot more than just the memories of these experiences. We're carrying traits, supernatural traits, abilities, telepathic abilities, remote viewing abilities. These are markers that are also genetically passed down. So then, started working with that.
Okay, that's so interesting. I started noticing that I call it an inner knowing, like just like reaching into like the some people call it the akasha or the tapestry of consciousness or whatever it may be. Just kind of having this and about stuff that I had no prior knowledge of, no education. It's just really amazing how much we can do. So that's really cool because I've never even heard about this genetic morphic field you were talking about here. So that's really cool. And you were talking about the hybrid program or hybrid kids. Do you have hybrid children? Are you a hybrid? Do you consider yourself any of those or?
Yeah, so this is a really deep and complex topic, and it took me a really long time to get into a complete overview understanding of what all of these terms really mean. Back when I first had this experience in 2013, I mean, you couldn't even Google these terms. They weren't even a common thing. But the short answer to your question is yes. Not only do I consider myself a hybrid, but I truly believe that every single human is a hybrid, simply because our origins are multidimensional. We are multidimensional beings, and we have within our DNA more than just human genetics. We have an entire library of ancestral genetics that are not only terrestrial ancestral genetics, we have interdimensional cosmic ancestry. And so we carry that memory in us, just like the American Indians and all the ancient civilizations around the world. Really, there isn't a single ancient civilization that doesn't talk about the connection to the stars and how we carry that memory in our DNA. And I think before we used to think of it more as metaphorically, but now, this is literally affecting us in how not only the illnesses that we kind of embody, but again, those kinds of extrasensory abilities that we actually hold within us are part of that genetic history. And so I can go deeper into the history of that and explain, because it's a lot to kind of explain. But yes, I was introduced to children when I was on board the craft, and I was surprised and shocked to see the resemblance of myself in them and receive telepathically that these were my children. And I was panicked because I was like, where do these kids come from? How could I have forgotten that I would have kids like this? But it turns out that, again, I'm not the only one that's experiencing these kinds of things. This experience is had by men and women around the world. You have dreams of having children, seeing children that are not 100% human. You have these kinds of abduction scenarios. I don't personally like to call my experience abduction. Oh, here's Coley. That's good.
Yes. Yeah, StreamYard made me do an update, a whole update. It sure did. And my computer rebooted, but we should be good to go. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was just talking about the hybrids, and essentially, if we take a look at these kinds of experiences that are happening to both men and women, we're not only talking about the possibility that we are creating life, not just on this planet, but we're actually participating in the creation of souls of beings, interdimensionally. Okay, and this is something that has been talked about actually through history, but pretty heavily hidden and kind of put away, because it's a really difficult topic to talk about, because we have to talk about sex, we have to talk about boundaries, we have to talk about parasites and demons and the concept of entities, and it gets into a lot of areas that a lot of people don't really want to get into. And then there's language barrier, because we think of these demons and these ideas, but then we think of aliens or interdimensional beings. And so we kind of have to go through this we have to kind of learning curve, in order to really understand, what is happening. But what I was shown is that our human race is a hybrid race. And not only that, but the children that we bring into this world are also hybrids. And one way that we can kind of explore that is that children are remembering their past, their quote unquote past lives. Really, we're talking about simultaneous memory timelines that they are able to access. So yeah, so it's really interesting. But I do think that we all have these kinds of interdimensional traits in our DNA.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've had past memories of lives on other planets. I know Coley does too. So that has to say something for it. And you were talking about children remembering their lives easier. My daughter was just explaining to me a life where she was around dinosaurs and how I was there. And it was like very detailed, and it wasn't like a make-believe story, because I know the difference when she's making up a story. This was like, I'm remembering something. You did this, I did that, kind of a scenario. So the phenomenon is actually real, and it's here, and it's pretty amazing to be a part of and witness. I do agree that we're all hybrids too. I don't think that we're all from the Earth only. I think that we're all pieces and parts of all kinds of other planets. So it's really amazing, the work that you're doing.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to hear the story about your child too, because I hear these stories every day in my practice. And the kids that are coming in, I mean, we heard Dolores Cannon talking about the different waves of children. And we are still receiving every octave that we enter. Right now, we're entering into period 9, into a whole nother octave of frequency globally. And the kids that are being born now are way more open than before. So interdimensionally, psychically, they are remembering their past lives, and they openly talk about them. They also talk about downloads of information that they're receiving very openly. So it's really interesting to see this new wave of consciousness.
Yes. Have you talked to Mary Rodwell at all, or any familiar with her work?
Oh,
Okay, because I was
absolutely.
gonna say I always, when I talk to her, I cringe about AI sometimes, and she said, you know what, like the hybrid children, she said, are like way outpower AI in some of these abilities that they
Absolutely.
have. So I think that's absolutely tremendous. And I feel, I guess in all my research and work, and I guess my personal belief, they haven't really brought the children forward, have they?
No, not yet, not at all. I mean, and it's interesting because I think as we go through these transitions of understanding pure consciousness, and that when we're children, we're actually far more connected and open to that information. I think we're going to be able to pay attention to children, because right now we don't really understand. I think the majority mainstream psychology, biology, sciences are not really understanding how the human really develops, and how we become programmed and blocked from those pure channels of information. By the time we're 15, we're pretty much blocked and indoctrinated with all kinds of programming.
Oh, definitely. The first 7 years of your life, the type of therapy I did was dyadic developmental psychotherapy, and it was all based off attachment like theory. So if those disruptions or things happen, but your brain is developing, and by the age of 7, it's like then kids slowly start shutting that down, and it's too bad. Like I wish that part of it could stay open, and I think too a lot of it is parenting, and I don't know, like those of us who
Oh,
Oh no, I think we lost Coley again.
oh
there she is.
yeah. So I'm gonna take a stop until I know what the heck's going on. I'm getting a message that there's an issue with X. So I'm gonna let you two continue. I'm gonna go in the back because I think that's what's causing the problems. It's saying that X is experiencing issues with live streaming posts. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that, and then and not interrupt. But you guys go ahead.
Okay. Well, just so everyone knows, I have no control over the chat back here, so don't be offended if I can't post anything on the banner. But yeah, so you were talking about not bringing the hybrids forward. I have met a lot of people who have had the same experience of you, as being on a ship or a craft, whatever you want to call it, and then meeting a whole group of children that are their own. And it's usually a very warm experience. Now, I have heard the opposite about the hybrid program where it was traumatic, but not personally. I've heard of other people, telling their story. But most of the people I've had like one-on-one interactions with have been positive experiences. So, but I'm assuming that was your experience was positive.
Excuse me. It's interesting. So some of the earliest memories that I had as a child were, for example, at 5 years old, I was taken on board a craft, and not just a regular craft, but an interdimensional portal type of thing that would lead me into a space where there were these giant beings, dark, shadowy beings. And these dark, shadowy beings would basically use me for all kinds of different things, not only my psychic abilities as a child and remote viewing, but also for these kinds of programs. And there's many different programs that I've been a part of. When I say program, that's such a strange word. It's really more levels of consciousness that I've accessed through these experiences. And so I've experienced some of these darker kind of experiences as well as the higher vibrational ones. So that kind of helped me understand how to better support people that are having these experiences, because a lot of people have trauma around these kinds of experiences, and they're afraid of like ever touching or seeing or getting into connection with any kind of thing that's interdimensional. They don't want to even get close to the topic. And that's a problem, and it's part of a kind of psyops that exists that goes into a whole other topic about the involvement of military and psychological manipulation and mind control that also participates in the creation of similar experiences. In my research and my work, and after working with thousands of men and women in these experiences, usually people that have traumatic experiences have participated on some level in these military abductions or mind control programs. And so it requires a lot of healing, of course. And usually they're super psychic as children. They're very connected. They have a lot of vision and abilities. And those are usually the children that are targeted for these experiences. In addition to coming from military families, not necessarily having both parents present, these children that are very easily brought into these kinds of programs. And, the interesting thing with everything that's happening currently in mainstream right now with the papers is that it's for those that understand this whole element of child abuse and mind control, I really feel like we're at the beginning of really talking about this whole abduction and hybridization and things like that, because a lot of these darker things that are being put out and that has been released in all those informations, those are things that a lot of experiencers have experienced through these kinds of mind control programs for a very long time, since many, many years, since the 50s. And so it's very interesting that we're having these conversations, but I think a lot more is going to come in our understanding of hybridization, in the understanding of the inversion of sexual energy and sexual abuse and what that means for a soul. Okay, so anytime that we experience severe sexual abuse, there's a fragmentation of the soul that takes place. And so most of the recovery work that I do with my experiencers is to reintegrate those fractals that have occurred as a result of that kind of, experience. So, it's really interesting. And essentially, most hybridization, positive experiences are really beautiful and healing experiences. However, I don't necessarily think that they are 100% without an exchange. So I do believe that hybridization programs are up to a certain dimensional level in this matrix, because above that, beings that are beyond these parasitic exchanges, they will never interfere with you. They will never interact with you. The creation laws are very different. And so hybridization is not just about the idea that you're experiencing the creation of a child. It's learning how to master creation interdimensionally. And I feel the reason why we talk about it is that we understand what it really means to create a soul and the responsibility behind that. Because we're creating universes essentially, right? By creating any kind of life, we create universes. So yeah, there's a lot of things there that we need to understand.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah,
So
that is.
the military, I'm sorry, Coley, I just had one question. So do you think a lot of the more negative experiences with any of these kind of contact, any involvement is mostly military and or involved? Do you think that that's where that kind of peaks there? Because I feel like the military and human beings doing things with extraterrestrials or interdimensionals to us is more nefarious in nature.
Yeah, but the thing is this, and yes, but when I say military, I wanna clarify, because we're not talking about the common military that are out there at wars and doing it. We're talking about a really deeper fraction of the military complex, which deals with mind control, psychological operations systems, which are deeply ingrained into Hollywood entertainment industry, politics, everything that we're seeing right now that's starting to be put out. That's where you're going to start to understand the back end of who runs a lot of these programs. So it can literally be, I don't know, the school. For example, a lot of my clients, a lot of my students and my patients have been involved in the GATE program, for example. Yeah, exactly. And so was I, right? And so, we were.
I didn't know that about you. I did not know that. So yeah, I'd love to compare notes sometime. But yeah, you're so true.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's definitely something that we want to talk about, because these were really heavily done earlier in the 80s and 70s, and I have a lot of students and clients that have recovered from that because they were tested heavily in school. Yeah. And then they didn't know why, and you are being selected, and then you're being groomed, and then you're kind of being put into these kinds of psyops. So when I talk about military abductions, I'm talking about a very, very complex system that is really covert into many systems that are not obvious unless you have experience identifying them. And so a lot of chemicals and drugs are used in those programs that produce hallucinations and interdimensional interactions of a lower frequency that are interacting with entities and beings like Dracos, reptilians, even mantids, and greys of a totally different caliber, frequency, and lineage. And they are very much connected to some of these darker systems. They work with these darker systems. So, so the people at first, they're like, oh, I had an abduction. And I'm like, this is terrifying. Without really understanding that there's a lot of other kind of involvement behind that. It has nothing to do with interdimensional experiences. Interdimensional experiences are very different.
Yes.
Yeah. So then on the other side of that, interdimensional experiences can be really beautiful and high vibrational. It can be even loving environments. It can be these kinds of beings that are highly intelligent and empathic beings. And then you have the experience of creating life in that way. But again, I want to be clear that one of my number one areas of understanding is the laws of the universe. And if things are not in alignment with the laws of the universe, for example, free will and the ability to choose your things consciously, that's where the human has to wake up consciousness and decide if they want to participate. Even if the experience was beautiful, you need to know why you're creating and what you're creating. And I think that's the biggest lesson of the hybridization experience in general for all humans that become aware of their experiences. That's what helped me understand, my participation.
That's so true. James Gillian, he talks a lot about the universal law and how you have to be in alignment with the universal law. So I thought that was very interesting that you pulled that. You're so true.
Yeah, I love James. He's great.
It's so interesting to see, like, you know, all the different takes on it and perspectives on it. And, you know, I like, and just hearing, you know, you're right. You said something that struck me before, and you're like, there's a trade-off. Like, there is a trade-off in this. There is a give, you know, quid pro quo, have you? But I absolutely, I without a shadow of a doubt, believe that also. There had a question too from Woo Rider. He said, "What?" I'll let you answer this one. What causes sexual abuse victims to keep the innocent quiet outside of feeling ashamed? I know that's his question, I guess.
Okay. Did you say you want to answer that one, or did you want me
No,
to answer
no, go
that?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What causes sexual abuse victims to keep the incident quiet outside of feeling ashamed? Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a whole thing, right? Because first of all, we are really deeply, our whole concept of sex is completely inverted, and it's inverted for a very powerful reason. I mean, even, you see, sex is not what we think it is. In our society, the concept of sex is about, pleasure, it's about, seeking for ecstasy, and then we equate that to romance and relationships and things like this. But on the higher level, our sexual creative energy is one of our most powerful creative energies. And anytime that energy is interfered with, or, it's inserted with these ideas of shame and guilt, that's when we start being confused energetically. We can't create, we can't be happy, we can't be whole, we can't be healthy. So many different things come of that. So, we're indoctrinated in our society to believe that sex is something that is taboo and something that's bad and dirty and impure in some ways. And those kinds of belief systems cause this stigma around our natural sexual expression, to the point that when we have interferences, especially as a child, when we don't even know how to define sex or the feeling of pleasure as a child, we become very confused with what's allowed. And so a lot of children have to heal a lot of internal conflict, with this kind of sexual abuse and things like that. And of course, they will not talk about it, because usually different scenarios happen for a lot of victims of this kind of abuse. Sometimes family members won't believe them, because, or sometimes they won't acknowledge what they've been experiencing. So again, another layer of shame, another layer of confusion, and kind of disconnecting them from their experiences. So it's really, really important for us to change the conversation, and with our children especially, and somehow create a safe environment for open, authentic expression without fear of retaliation, or trying to put definition and compartmentalize different parts of our lives and the way that we believe things or see them to be. This is really important in our families, that will allow to have open communication. Religion is a really, really powerful indoctrinating force that has really made us kind of put sex in a box, in a very specific box. And it's completely inverted, because as we know, the religious systems are the ones that are unfortunately part of the problem and creating a lot of this kind of inversion of behavior. So, so expression is really important. In the hybridization program, and these kinds of interdimensional experiences, right? We're talking about interdimensional interactions. And so we are talking about, in dream state, there is psychological implants of memories and things like that, especially if they are abusive experiences. Sales stuff like that.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I always say that, they blame themselves, like, too, with kids. It's like when they're in that situation, they definitely blame themselves. We had another question here from Andrew. He wants to know, are the interdimensional experiences out of body? So are like OBEs
Yeah.
the same?
Yes. So yeah, they are. Some of them are out of body, but this is another really, really complex element of the hybridization program, specifically with the hybridization program, because with contact experiences, we also have people that experience having scoop marks or, marks on their body after they have an experience. And just like me, I mean, I had burn marks underneath my eyes after my experience. I ended up with triangle markings on my body. And every time I would have these kinds of experiences, there would be something left. So they are interdimensional, but I think we have to change our understanding of what interdimensional means, because whatever is happening interdimensionally, it's going to leave some kind of effect and vice versa in the physical body somehow. With the hybridization program, it's even more so. And I want to mention that so to answer the question, yes, they are out of bodies for the most part. For the ones that are military abductions, they're usually physical kind of experiences. And they're also a certain hijacking of dreams. And I know that sounds pretty intense, but there is a lot of experiments that were done where memories and experiences are inserted in dream time, and also people can be accessed in out-of-body experiences in their dream time. It can be hijacked, those experiences. So I've also seen a lot of our experiencers having those kinds of experiences. Now, about the hybridization program, there's an element of time that we have to understand, because a lot of times when we think of hybrid experiences, we think, okay, right now the woman is being abducted, she's being impregnated, and now she's pregnant. So the process goes that you have implantation, insemination, extraction, and then you have presentation. Okay, so there's those pretty similar in like hundreds of experiences. This is what's happening to them, and they will remember usually one of those experiences. One of those memories of that will fall into one of those categories, and then usually in hypnotherapy we are able to open up more of the memory. But what that helps us understand is that whichever one of these memories you're remembering, sometimes the woman has really physical side effects, and she starts to have pregnancy. Like me, for example, I was literally experiencing pregnancy for 3 months, and then at the end of the 3 months, nothing, everything was gone. Went to the doctor checked, the doctor said it was a blighted ovum. The second time they said that the body just reabsorbs it, or it's stress. So women are receiving all kinds of things, but they have a clear memory of either being on board a craft or having an interdimensional experience of insemination of some kind, or being presented these children, and then having this experience. But usually the timeline doesn't make sense in the recall of these memories, because sometimes they will have, the memory of the child and then have the pregnancy and then the presentation immediately after, right? So I want to mention that in this case, time is not linear. In any case, actually, time is not linear, but it's very clear that when we're having these kinds of out-of-body experiences, it doesn't mean it's happening right now. Sometimes we are tapping into memories of these experiences that are happening in other dimensional planes, other timelines, and they will cause a physical effect, but it won't produce anything. The body is just reacting and responding to that memory of that experience.
Yeah, you talked about markings. It had the strangest ones too. That was when reality, I think, set in the most for me. Like, and I did not experience what you experienced. I've talked to other people that have, with the pregnancies and things like that. So, but I mean, I can't imagine how chilling that would be after the markings. I mean, when I woke up, I mean, it was just like there's too many things, where you couldn't deny it anymore. It's like it takes that away from you. It's like you have to face this now, and this is a different reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it was the psychic abilities. I think if I had not developed, had those psychic abilities the next day after having that experience, I myself wouldn't have believed what my experience, more than a dream or some weird situation, because it was so powerful and so life-changing. But I think that it's really important to understand that this is not something to fear, because we think about markings on the body and things like that, and it can seem like a horror story for someone, and Hollywood completely takes advantage of these experiences and makes it seem like something terrifying, but it's really not. Interdimensional experiences are a part of our human experience, and we need to learn how to master navigation of interdimensionality. How? By becoming lucid, and by learning how to train our nervous system in a state of neutral observation, which is the 0 point. Literally, the 0 point is the activation of the Merkaba body, the light body, in which we can travel interdimensionally and become conscious of what we're doing and what we're interacting. The majority of the trauma comes when we don't remember. We're completely closed off. Of course, we're going to be scared. We don't know how it happened. We don't know why it happened. And when that memory returns through hypnosis, usually the patient is relieved and they understand what their participation was or why they did that. So it's really important to understand not only our free will is absolutely paramount to understand laws of free will, play a role in your waking state as much as they play a role in your dream state. And we need to realize that we spend a lot more of our life out of our body in dream state. We just don't remember. So remember, the awakened being in all of history, all the ascetics, all the highest masters, you are awake when you start remembering your past lives and you become conscious in your dream state. And that's something that I experienced firsthand. That's why I can talk about it. But we all need to learn how to do that. We need to, become lucid.
That's a huge part of it too. There's exercises. I guess is there any recommendations that you have for people? I know, like, all day long I would remind myself. I'd be like, okay, when you're there, your senses, 5 senses, like, what do you smell? What do you feel? Is it cold? Is it hot? Trying to have that and remain that consciousness while you're there. But yes,
100%. That's so beautiful. Exactly. I mean, and yeah, this is what I do. I teach people how to become lucid, in waking state and dream state. So my YouTube channel is dedicated to that. I mean, I give like 2-3 hour lectures to teach how to do that, because we just need to learn how we function. We are very complex, multidimensional beings. Because we are holographic beings, our DNA is holographic, all of the information that we're experiencing is a projection of our DNA. And so we just need to learn how to create an environment for producing memory. Memory emerges by producing higher conductivity, because we are bioelectrical beings. And so the more we come into stagnation of our energy field, your energy is like a toroidal system. And when it stops moving or it starts getting sluggish, your life force can't move. And so it blocks memory, it blocks the full expression of your DNA, immune suppression, illnesses, and then essentially death, right? So we need to learn how to move our energy system in a way, this toroidal body, in a centripetal way. Okay, right now it's centrifugal, which means everything is being depleted out of the body. And so when we start to gather our energy, now we can redirect that. And that is the key to recovering memory, is essentially becoming more bioconductive. We become conductive in our energy.
I absolutely agree with that 1000%. Like, I mean, without that. So you said before, do you think that we are, I guess, can you go into a little bit more depth about what you mean by like DNA? I found that really fascinating, that we're a projection of that.
Yeah. So, and I think the beauty of now, the time that we're in right now, is that we have the science to back up all of these things that we've kind of intuitively connected to, and that's been written about by all these ancient mystery schools, right? Is the cultivation of our higher vision and our ability, our higher faculties, right? How does one cultivate that? Lucidity is a product of high conductivity, and we create high conductivity by coming into the 0 point. How does that look like genetically in your DNA? Like, what happens in your DNA when you become highly conductive is that you remember that just like your brain has neural networks that are being constantly reinforced with behaviors and feelings and emotions, it's also connected to a biochemical system. And what produces the majority of your life experiences are your emotions. So if you're in a constant state of anxiety and fear, you're going to not only attract that kind of experience, but you're going to have a filter over your reality. So epigenetically, that is affecting your DNA. But the question is, what comes first, the DNA or your experience that you're having? And really, we have to realize that the majority of our programs that are passed down generations after generations epigenetically, we're basically just repeating over and over again, mom's trauma, dad's trauma, grandpa, down the lineage. You can go back into your ancestors. And so that creates kind of a limitation to your creation. And so it also creates a memory in your muscle system, your nervous system, biochemically, that you keep repeating. We're literally addicted to drama and trauma in our
Isn't
body.
it crazy? I said cellular memory. That's the hardest part of it all, because your body, whether or not you can cognitively make sense out of this, your body remembers. And when you think about it, and people don't really understand, but like with my clients, I dealt with reactive attachment disorder children. So they are very, very, and you cannot use emotions with them. I mean, you will get such a reaction out of them, but whatever care was kept from them, you could trace back to the parents, you could trace back to grandparents. It was this continuous cycle of, so I get what you're saying there. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
Amazing, beautiful work. I mean, this is the kind of work that we all have to be doing on a daily basis, because this is what is now commonly called shadow work, right? Because essentially you need to understand your triggers, and you don't really have to go very far. Just look at what made you upset or took you out of balance yesterday or the past 5 hours. You will know. That's the gold. You will know a lot about your belief systems, about how you see yourself, but it requires patience, and you need to meditate. You have got to meditate. There's no way around meditation. Meditation is one of the key elements of our human function. And so if we don't connect to that stillness to be able to observe what those patterns are, you're never going to get a grasp as to what is driving your reality, or what is basically ruling you. And so to talk about holographic DNA, we're talking about breaking those patterns, because when you break those patterns, it's not just some kind of psychological idea that becomes compartmentalized as a part of you. I mean, we're talking about a restructuring, not only of what becomes available to you. So you are able to access higher immunity in the body. You're able to access downloads, and because it's bioelectrical, you begin to connect to a field, a much larger field of bioelectrical information. And that's done through the body. And so we can download now massive amounts of information that help us, that guide us. We are supported into the higher self. And then we begin to recover memory of our past lives, our dreams. So the mechanics of becoming conscious, lucid, and awake are really the key to human health and human optimum function. So it's not an abstract thing. And genetically, these traits that are enhanced in your body as a result of the awakening are also passed down genetically. So we have children that are super, super psychic, super awake, as we mentioned, with your kids that are so amazing. They are carrying that bioelectrical availability in their body. So just like trauma, which we focused on for the past 20 years, is being passed down 20 plus generations, so are these really high dimensional memories of interdimensionality. So your Pleiadian bloodlines, your Arcturian, your whatever bloodlines you connect with, these are archetypal cosmic overlays of memory that you have in you that you can access.
That's so true too. And a lot of times with clients, or even myself, that I had when I found I would get those, I'd go into EMDR. And what that was so powerful, because either that or, like, there was a therapy that we did with DDP, which is that developmental psychotherapy. And we would go in and we'd have what we called an intersubjective experience with the client, but we would remove that emotion. We would then give them a response that was much different than what they had the first time. So it's replacing that picture or what's creating that. And you're right. It does carrying these things, it does put a filter on everything and how you perceive the world. So that was wonderfully said.
Thank you. The interesting thing is that we don't realize, and this, not the majority of humanity is going to touch this topic or even question it, but for those of you that are on this channel, UFO topic and interdimensional topic, it's very connected, because you also will not have the affinity to UFOs or aliens or interdimensional beings without having this memory already encoded in you. So this is something that, in the same way that we learn how to navigate our waking state without trauma, you also want to navigate your interdimensional dream state without trauma. And that's where lucidity is really important.
That's amazing. And that kind of goes into the next question we have from Paul. He said, are young abductees chosen to be groomed to be contactees? Do you think they know who we are, or that we're just coming in and trying to identify us? I guess, can I throw that in there?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. One of the first questions that I asked, because I wanted to understand, like, well, you feel so isolated in these experiences. Like, is it just me? Like, am I the only one having these experiences? I mean, there are millions of people around the world that report having these kinds of experiences now. It's not just something random. And that number is growing as we're talking more about disclosure, which is imminent probably this year. And so, you see, I don't really use the word abductee, because unless it's a military abduction or something like that, that's mind control, it's not an abduction for me. Why? Because we have to start understanding, again, the laws of the universe. We are one. So what does that really mean in the physics of all of these interactions? When we enter into these different dimensional planes, we are essentially meeting parts of ourselves. Okay, so when we look at our DNA and we begin to access the memory of our Pleiadian bloodline, for example, what that means is that we are far more connected to that lineage, and we will most likely have conscious memory and experiences with that bloodline first before anything else. And so that's why, some of us, we've been in contact with our Pleiadian bloodlines, all our lives. Yeah, exactly. Me too, right? So when I was a child, I used to pray to the Pleiades before I even knew the name of the seven sisters. I don't know why I prayed to it every day. It was the most incredible thing. To later find out.
Seven sister. Oh no, I know what you're talking about. In the Taurus constellation, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the seven sisters is the Pleiadian constellation.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that right there went full circle. And I said, I'll explain it later, but that was a very interesting when you said that, because I found that it was imprinted on my leg. It was like that star map that I found. And then I was like, okay, yeah, it was crazy.
You see? Exactly. That is the exact thing I'm talking about. So I hear these crazy synchronicities with my students all the time, where they have an affinity to the Lyran constellation or Arcturian or Pleiadian. It's encoded in you since you're a child. And so, to get back to that question, right, is that essentially we are meeting parts of ourselves. And so when we have these kinds of experiences, again, time is not linear. You might be the alien, I also don't like to use that word, but the interdimensional that you're interacting with. You might be that being in another timeline. That might be you. And that happened to me too. I was taken to the planet Miya in my experience, which is one of the planets in the Pleiadian constellation. And my name was Alcyone, which is the name of the largest star in the Pleiadian constellation. And I had many lifetimes in the Pleiades. So I was shown many of these different lifetimes. And it turns out that it was the same kind of thing that I'm doing now. And so we can find our path. We can find and download information about our potential by tapping into these aspects of ourselves and remembering. So don't be afraid of what you encounter. We are not groomed, in other words. It's in our DNA. Our access to interdimensionality is in your DNA. And all you're doing is you're recovering your memory to what you're already doing in your dream state unconsciously. So you're having, every single human has contact experience. They just don't remember it. You are traveling to different planets. And the reason why I say this so confidently, because working with patients, thousands now, for 15 years, doing hypnotherapy and traversing the subconscious layers of our memory, we are all having interdimensional experiences. So it's not so much of an abduction as it is a recovering of our memories of what we're doing in dream state.
That's interesting. That is fascinating to think. So, do you think, I guess, or in your experience, blood types and different connections that they have, like I have a weird blood type, so I always have to ask, like AB negative. Do you think like some of these factors, like you're able to kind of pinpoint, or you said too, like the Seven Sisters, like the market, do you think they're like clues that we put there for ourselves so we do trigger these memories back again? I always wonder, like what is the end game in all of it?
Yeah, so this goes into a really, really deep topic about the origin of humanity. And, what I was shown is that humans are made out of three main bloodlines seated on this planet. A Pleiadian bloodline, a reptilian bloodline, and then an inner earth lineage. Okay, so all humans came from this original bloodlines. And from there, it developed into this, hybridized essentially into the human race that we have. But as you can see, we have many different kinds of humans on this planet. And so have been many genetic changes and modifications that have been done, some which are natural evolutionary as a result of the hybridization with many different star systems, but some are genetically modified or more enforced and created. And so our blood types speak to many different aspects. First of all, again, because time is not linear, you've had many lifetimes on this planet Earth being many different races, different beings, different kinds of blood types. So we can kind of consider blood types like a self-organizing mechanism of the Earth, of memory, of ancestral memory. That's how I would, name it. And essentially, the kind of blood type that you have gives you access to certain lineages of information. So people with more rare blood types usually are they are newer generations of humans and souls on this planet Earth. Not new in our time construct, but new in a sense that they come from higher dimensional octaves and then are now inserted into the blood, into this earth lineage. Okay. And so, yes, there's a certain element that is very interesting. And, with Ray Hernandez, for example, and, they did that, the FREE project, doing research on contactees and abductees and all these things, they discovered that the majority of their experiencers were Rh negative. And what I have discovered, doing my own research on a pool of 1,000 contactees, the majority of them were Rh negative, the ones that remembered experiences. But what I discovered was that it's not just about the blood type, but the blood type allows, it's not like they're being groomed or selected, as someone asked earlier, for their blood type, but that blood type allows more bioelectrical memory. Okay, so there's a connection between blood type and bioelectricity, because again, blood is bioelectrical. It's a bioelectrical conductive memory system. And so that's really one of the things so everyone is having contact, But people with those kinds of rare blood types tend to remember their experiences more because they have more of that access into that interdimensional plane. And we have something called the morphogenetic field, which is this. You think of it as the instruction manual that brings the physical body into its form. It tells the DNA to write the DNA up until the end of this finger and then stop growing the finger at that level, and then going into these regenerative architecture. And so that's really important because the morphogenetic field is a bioelectrical memory system. And you can research Michael Levin's work on that, one of my favorite researchers on the topic, who helped prove that memory is bioelectrical. So, we are able to access memories of past lives and interdimensionality, and everything is in the morphogenetic field. So another element that's interesting is people with rare blood types, they seem to have more access into this field. They have more expanded ranges of vibrational frequency into the field. So yeah, that's another element that was really interesting.
That is fascinating. My grandmother was Rh negative. She was the other one to even encounter a UFO. And it's crazy because I have two O negative parents, and the chances of me coming AB negative. And some of the feedback that I've gotten was that it's the second wave of the Rh negative. So that's why I'm interested in finding out any information I can. I have a questionnaire that I've put together and compiled from. It's kind of similar, and I'm a fan of Ray's work as well. But just to find, like the similarities in us, because I feel like, especially being a part of that GATE program, and it was all about like, testing, what are these squiggly lines? Like, get what cards next, put these blocks together. But I got in, I was born in 79, so it would have been 83. They got me at preschool before Montessori preschool. And so it was like, yeah, and all of this stuff that is there. So I always wonder, like, what are they doing? Because Doc Skinner will tell you, he's a gate kid also. He'll tell you that he thinks that it was to put us under control, that we were the ones that were rebelling or were going to rebel or had it in us, whatever you want to, DNA wise or whatever it is. And that's his kind of understanding of it. What's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's an interesting take. What I've seen, and this goes into kind of deep things, but it's not made up things, and they're not really conspiracy theories. And we're seeing that more and more with what's being revealed. There have been experiments that have been done to test bioelectricity in the body and to test the field of a body of a person that is more intuitive. When a person is really intuitive, their field is amplified, and it's also really strong waves. You can pick it up. And so what I not only have been shown, but also seen as a result of these experiences as a child, is that there are technologies that are able to scan cities in order to identify where there are higher, movements in these kinds of frequency shifts, when there are variations in the field. And those variations in the field are usually people that are having these kinds of out-of-body experiences at a really young age. And they are the first people to be targeted, in a sense. Okay, so again, when I talk about military, then we can talk about targeting. Interdimensional, not so much. It's a whole different system there. But so they do target these children at a very early age. A lot of them are in the military, and then talking about generations of targeting, not just immediate, targeting. We're talking about generations, entire family bloodlines that are being constantly tested for their intuitive capacities and then put into these programs at a really early age. Just like you, I was tested with, the little black spots, the squiggly lines, the intuitive cards, like, pick a card. And when I would ask my classmates, like my best friend who was with me all the time, everywhere, like, do you remember this? No, how could it be? And so I've done so much research, and in my support group, I'm hearing this all the time. All of these abductees have had these kinds of been part of GATE program and have been part of these programs. So the point is to select highly activated children in order to utilize them in dream state in psychological operations, where our dream state is hijacked in order to take the alter of ourselves, because we become fragmented. A lot of these children go through severe trauma and usually don't have a strong parental figures to protect them. Usually they're on their own. And these kids are brought into these programs. And then when they are split in these traumatic experiences, they create alters, alternative personality, alternative aspects of themselves that are then hijacked in dream state to carry out things, to do things. This is not a fantasy. This is something that actually was, it was put out in papers for research that they had been doing since the 50s. And so a lot of these people that are now contactees and abductees coming to the support group, they've had cookie cutter this experience. Okay. Now, what I've realized over the years is that there's psyops and then there's psyops. And a lot of these MK Ultra, a lot of these mind control survivors of these kinds of experiences. And now we have these files, as I mentioned, that are helping us identify one entire huge faction of that. Because, people that were brought into those programs were brought in by these same techniques. Okay. And so even the survivors in my groups that have been part of these programs have been experiencing those kinds of experiences as well. So it's really important to understand that, we need to understand psychic self-defense. We need to understand how to properly utilize our psychic abilities in order to cloak, in a sense, and protect yourself from parasites, right? So all of these systems that are trying to get into our energetic space, those are parasites. And they can only access you if you yourself have parasitic subconscious core belief systems. Essentially, if you believe you're unworthy, if you believe you're not powerful, if you believe you're helpless, you're the perfect target for these kinds of parasitic experiences, when in fact you're super psychic, you have abilities, you're super connected. So this narrative has to change. And so sexual abuse and all of these things are the number one way to disrupt the bioelectrical field of any human soul, essentially.
That's fascinating. Just so you know, Doc Skinner I popped in the chat and said that she said you're amazing. She's had you on his show once or twice. So I thought that was so funny so hopefully, Doc, I said it correctly on, I don't want to speak for you, but yeah, that was so funny. Popped
Oh, it's so great to see you, Doc. Awesome.
Isn't he amazing? Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. But yeah, no, that's so fascinating. And somebody, I said, everybody was saying hi to him. Doc, I said, you'll pop back up when you hear your name. I knew you would. You're probably listening and working at the same time. So he said, yes, he validates. So I'm not speaking for him. I don't like to put words into other people's mouths. But when it comes to the GATE program, it's like something that hits so close to home that I just, absorb any of what I can find out, because it's like you didn't get to understand all of the stuff that was going on. It's just recently really starting to come out among people. And so, yeah, it's really, you wonder,
Yeah, I mean, when I first learned about that, it was literally, first through the download that I received, because I started to realize that I had been kind of participant in those things at a really early age, and the kind of experiences I was having of being in these military-like environments as a child, remote viewing for these beings, for these military type of things. I started to hear those in my support group, and that's when things clicked. If it wasn't for that, I would have never imagined that there was a connection between the GATE program and these kinds of interdimensional experiences. So yeah, if you think you're having experiences, definitely go to a support group, learn about it, or get hypnotherapy, to kind of understand. The bottom line is, do not fear the interdimensional, because one of the ways that the psyops paralyzes people is essentially by making them afraid of their intuitive abilities of interdimensionality. It's the best way to sever the power of humanity.
Absolutely. It absolutely is, without a shadow of a doubt, and it will tear, and you're right, if you don't get down to and cope and deal with some of it, it definitely comes out in different ways. There was a question before that was asked, do you believe, or serious question, I believe in God and believe he is my creator. How do I fit this into my or beliefs, such as having reptilian blood, etc.?
Yeah, so first of all, reptilians, just like in everything, as part of the laws of the universe, there is duality. Okay, so there's always um, positive and negative. Okay, but none of them mean good or bad. That's the thing that we have a hard time understanding. There is no good and bad. There's just cause and effect of those things. And so we need to kind of spiritually mature first to understand that. Secondly, because of that, everything has a dualistic aspect. Even reptilians have high vibrational, low vibrational beings in them. So if we have reptilian blood, it doesn't mean, we're just a bunch of parasites and we, can't get rid of that. It just means that we have more of that lineage, which it's an archetypal frequency that we have within us. And guess what? Every single human has reptilian DNA in them. We literally have a reptilian brain. Our most primal aspect of our psychology, our chemistry, our biology is based on those primal archetypal elements. So no human does not have this in them. So when we talk about God, I think we need to kind of separate our idea of religion, because unfortunately, religion has kind of created the idea that a God is a being outside of us that is more powerful somehow, or has more control, more wisdom than us. The thing is that to fix that ideology, or to kind of shift that ideology in a way that is more productive for us, is to understand that essentially you are a fractal of source. You are a fractal of the infinite. You are a fractal of this God source, and you are a God, essentially. You are a creator. And so within you is everything. And that's something it was really hard for me to conceptualize that in the beginning until, I had that connection to the divine, and I finally understood that everything is one. There's no separation between you and, let's say, someone that causes harm. There's no separation between you and God or evil in this universe. Everything is in us. And so the sooner we understand that, and even the things that are happening in the world outside of us, whatever is triggering you, there's an aspect of that in yourself. You have that part, some little seed of that within your deepest subconscious beliefs. And so part of shadow work is to get into that part and nurture that part back into its wholeness, so that we can, again, embody God within us, and that will help you see everything as God. Okay, so the reptilian, it's a God being. All the evil in this world is still an aspect of this God whole self. So I think basically there's nothing outside of you. And I know that that's such a hard thing to understand when we talk about aliens and interdimensionals and all these things that are happening outside, and even mind control. But there is nothing outside of yourself. And when you understand that, then you don't fear anything or are affected by anything.
That's a great answer. And again, this question definitely ties into the last. Do you believe there's an angelic world?
Yeah, so angels are very, very interesting. And how I would answer this question, I never believed in angels until an angel appeared to me one time and basically saved my life. But later on, when I had my contact experience, I began to realize the similarities between the frequencies and the energies that both the angelic being gave to me, as well as the gray, this 7-foot gray being that appeared to me. I think that as humans, we have very limited filters of perception. And most of the symbology and the experiences that we have are based on the symbols that we most relate to. And it creates a limitation for what we interact with. I don't think that angels necessarily are 100% completely different from interdimensional beings. I think that they are just different frequencies and different manifestations of archetypal frequencies. And I think that once we start lifting the filter of what we're interacting with, you just learn how to sense energy. And it can look like an angel, it can look like a gray, it can look like a blue being, but the frequency that you interact with is different. The second part to that answer is that there are levels in this dimension in which all of these beings are organized. Most angelic beings that I've interacted are around the 11th dimension, 12-dimensional plane. When you go beyond that, beings have no form. This is why I think that there's not much of a difference. It's just archetypal layers. But the lower you go in dimension, the more form they have, the more solid they are. So the lowest frequency of that is draconian, you can say. Okay, that's just an example. And the higher of that would be the angelic being in the 11th, 12th dimension. And beyond that, they have no form. So if you kind of meditate on that and just kind of notice how you interact with angelic beings, always question the exchange that you feel. Because another element that also happens is that their parasites can appear to be angelic beings. But if you don't have discernment, you're not going to understand who you're interacting with, who you're exchanging with. So think of experiences as an invitation to practice discernment rather than creating finite definitions of what you're experiencing. That's why I don't really like to have too many finite definitions, because we don't know anything. Okay, we as humans, we're learning barely. We're a very infant level of spiritual development as a human whole, So we have to learn how to discern energy above all, rather than form, because form is rather an illusion. It's a hologram.
That's interesting. That is interesting. It's hard at times to wrap your mind around it all, but I'm with you on the holographic. I firmly believe it. Somebody asked too, Lori, would, I guess, the same thing as those, you find chips implanted under the skin, like in the implant cases, I guess, that you've come across, do you think it's a tracking device, or what do you think they're there for?
Yeah, I've seen a couple different elements of it. I mean, I've even had implants as well. But here's what I have learned from those, many years of having worked with experiencers and also my own. There are physical implants, and there's also interdimensional implants, and then there's also both physical and interdimensional implants. The majority of the physical implants are usually military or terrestrial type programs, and they are sometimes led by some of these interdimensionals, okay, that are interacting and collaborating with terrestrials. But there's also interdimensional implants. And I would say that the vast majority of people have interdimensional implants in their field. And these can be removed. And it's really interesting. I mean, this really deserves an entire conversation on its own, because there are many groups that implant interdimensional devices in the body that help people maintain certain vibrational frequencies. So certain beings that do that. And then there's other beings that they implant for parasitic reasons. I don't really believe that tracking is necessarily the number one reason for any of these implants, because of the nature of how we are interacting and intercommunicating with these intelligences are far beyond the idea of locating someone. It really is about frequency. It's about managing frequency. And it's also about your participation in the management of that frequency. what I found by working with people, because I work with removing of implants in hypnotherapy and also in my DNA reprogramming, is that a person has to have a certain belief system and a certain trauma or pain or suffering emotional state that is interacting with the implant in order to keep it in the body. But when the person breaks away from that program or from that emotion, that implant dissolves from the field and no longer limits or affects. Sometimes people can feel, can heal things in their body when they remove these implants. It happened to me as well. So I think we need to be able to scan our body and to notice when they're physical implants. And a lot of these cases, they're half physical and half interdimensional, and they will usually dissolve out of the, like if they try to take it out or if they try to do anything with it, it'll just dissolve. So this is something that, I've seen in my practice. I think the primary takeaway is that, again, I believe in free will and that you need to understand how to clean all kinds of implants from your body, interdimensional or physical.
Yeah, that's so true. And I've heard that before several times, that when you get them out of the body, a lot of times they will explode or they'll disintegrate, which is very, yes,
yeah,
definitely. And yeah, you're right. That is like a whole nother show. There's so much information right there,
Yeah, because, and that's one of the reasons why I've kind of come to the conclusion that that's why it's a frequency device. It needs a certain environment in order to be sustained. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, definitely. And then here's a question from Paul. Do you believe interdimensional beings are working with extraterrestrials or against, or are they one and the same, I guess?
Yeah, so I personally don't like to use the word extraterrestrial, because the way I see this holographic construct is not like the idea that we're on a planet ball, like a planet that is this sphere floating in space inside of a solar system in the way that we have been taught. It's a lot more complex than that in what I've seen. I think that the way we interact with other intelligences is interdimensionally and through wormholes and portals. And whether that's a UFO in the sky that came through a portal into our dimensional place, into our planet Earth, into our atmosphere, or it's coming into your dream state. So I think that for me personally, this is based on what I've experienced and researched and seen. They are all interdimensional. They are interdimensional to some extent. And yeah, and then so what was the other part of her question? Is there her question?
Oh, Paul, let's see. And then do you think that they're working with or against like the two
humans?
Or are they one and the same? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, again, because this is in our DNA, these are our celestial brothers and sisters. So I don't tend to believe in any kind of wars, because some people talk a lot about intergalactic wars. I think that's a very limited Earth perception. Like, it's only humans and Dracos and reptilians really abide by, mostly Dracos, create the whole military complex and concepts of war. And that's a very limited perception. So a lot of these interdimensionals aren't really operating on that kind of a level, because they have a different laws in their universe that they abide by that are not like warlike. So I think that ET experiences, again, interdimensional experiences I'm referring to, it's a very personal thing, because you need to understand your starseed lineages and to understand your soul journey and your participation on the planet Earth. What is your role here? That's what this information is for. And I think that individually, when every human starts waking up awareness of their bloodlines, their starseed lineages, which is what's happening right now, we will have contact because again, it's a vibrational frequency that we have to reach, a certain frequency, and that's already happening right now. We're coming into that experience now. So there will be contact with brothers and sisters, and there will be government produced not imaginary, like constructed experiences that we have to be very discerning of, including the disclosure of technology, which is terrestrial technology, not interdimensional technology. Interdimensional technology is extremely advanced psychic technology. It's bioelectrical, psychic, plasmic technology, which we don't really have on this planet yet, but we will be introduced that through real contact, which will occur eventually. So that's something that we have to be paying very close attention to. I think that will be happening at the end of this year. But I don't.
That's AI's job. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you think that's AI's job to take out because they seem to be paired up? I had a conversation I had with Mary Rodwell. The abilities between the two, and her money is on the kids, like on the ET kids. But like I said, do you think that's like there to destroy some of this or to stop it from happening?
No, I think AI is a very ancient technology. We are just catching up to AI because we've reached that frequency point in our evolution. Because you can say that human race is an iteration of a very advanced, artificial or constructed technology of the past. So I think that AI is the introduction for expansive, massive processing of information. It's an introduction to the human race, to the psyche of the human race, because before that we're kind of like just monologue, right? Just kind of like barely operating. But now with the introduction of AI, we are now shifting into another frequency of massive amounts of data and information, which we have to learn to process. And how are we going to do that is essentially the activation of our higher faculties. That is the way to do that. We need to wake up our organic technology, because this artificial intelligence is basically, it's modeled after the incredibly complex advanced technology that is the human body and the human system. So AI is trying to mimic our organic technology, but the more that we can use that technology to help create very positive solutions for the human race to advance our technology into the next level. We will only be able to do that if we understand our internal technology. So I think it's just the natural next step. Why do I say this? Because I've seen many advanced civilizations, alien, you can say alien civilizations. I've been in the Pleiades. I've seen Arcturian civilizations. I've been Arcturian as well. And so seeing how they reached their high level of civilization was through exact same way that we're going through. But the question is, and this has happened many times on this planet Earth, every time that we reach a high level of technology, we either, die and kill ourselves in our own frequency because we don't know how to manage it, or we're able to transcend into the next level of harmonious co-creation. So the human race right now, it's at a very pinnacle point where we're entering in this next evolutionary jump. And AI will take us there, but how we manage it is key. And we cannot get distracted with the things that are happening, right now, that are going to pull us away from that understanding. So I think it's not a matter of it's going to destroy it. I think it's going to help us speak the language of massive amounts of information, which we didn't realize we were capable of processing before we saw it mirrored in AI. So this is something that humanity is beginning to understand, the consciousness. We need to connect to the field where this information is abundantly available to us.
I have a question. So I've heard that other people talk about the more organic form of AI being used by the alien or extraterrestrial or other worldly beings. Is that what you think we should be steering towards, like more of an organic form of AI, or to kind of like keep us grounded, and also making sure that we're grounded on the inside so that it doesn't all fall to pieces like it did in Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly, right. Atlantis. So, it's kind of one and the same, because in order for you to even connect to the field, you have to master being grounded, because the only way to access any field is through the physical body. So it's not about leaving the body. It's when we think of out of body experiences, we have this idea it's like a separation. It's actually mastering being fully integrated in the physical in order to move interdimensionally within the field. Your chakras in your body are portals into dimensions. So from the first dimension, first portal, first dimension, second dimension, third dimension. So we have all of those portal accesses through the body. So we have to learn how to navigate interdimensionally by learning how to master this physical body, which is the organic technology. As a matter of fact, I'm writing my book right now, and one of the topics that I'm diving into is organic technology, right? So how do we differentiate between government disclosure that's going to happen from their perspective of advanced technology that they will present the world? It will look to the average human like, oh my God, incredible technology, unbelievable. But to the person that is a contactee, you'll very quickly be able to understand that that's not a real UFO, because a UFO is an organic, conscious organism of technology that is connected to the DNA of the navigator. Okay, so we don't have that technology here. And so to reach that level of technology, we are headed in that direction. We're already headed there. I mean, I follow Silicon Valley. I live here in Silicon Valley. All the latest research on DNA and how they're learning how to communicate robots to DNA. It's already happening, right? But we're not there yet. But the real technology is that. And so in order to become, just like the Pleiadians have shown me, in order to navigate a craft, your DNA has to connect with the craft. And your DNA has to be activated to be able to connect with the craft. What does that mean? You have expanded field. So whenever you expand your DNA, it means you've done your shadow work. You've deprogrammed yourself from the matrix in order to enter into another octave of vibrational frequency, which is a product of advanced activated DNA. Then you have activated senses. You have telepathic abilities. You have ability to remote view. You can even biolocate. All of these senses are the organic technology, which is through our physical body, which is absolutely necessary in order to navigate these vessels. Another aspect of that is that you are a vessel. Your body becomes a Merkaba, which is one of many platonic solid forms that our body is able to produce. And so what do I mean by that is your body is spinning at a certain vibrational frequency that it creates a UFO. You become a Merkaba, this geometric structure of light that navigates interdimensionally. That is the real technology. And so when you reach the states of creating those geometric complex systems, energy systems, you can master matter. That's why in a lot of sci-fi films, right, which they kind of get some of it, the ships, they don't have like one solid form anymore. They can change shapes. And we've seen a little bit of that in some of the disclosure films that they were showing, where the UFO, right, it gets shot at and then it splits in half and then it comes back together. So these kinds of systems, we can recognize them by recognizing our own technology. And that's a language that cannot be taught. AI will never be able to mimic that. It doesn't matter how they advance, they try to make it. That kind of level of consciousness is an entire architectural restructuring. And that's something that can only be done through DNA, through this holographic human body. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Benoit, he's out there. He does not, English is obviously not his first language, but he is brilliant and has great questions. I just wanted to see if you would rephrase that so I could ask her. So I thought that would be better than trying to type all that. But Yeah, it's so awesome that, your word is getting out there and being translated into so many different, languages, and it's kind of, I mean, that's exciting all in itself. But yeah, the audience is really they really are vibing with what you're saying and really relating to it. So,
Yay, that's awesome. So happy to hear that. Thank you so much for
definitely.
your awesome questions too.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Maya did. I was kind of waiting to see if one came through from him. Do you have any, or did you see any that may have been missed at all? They started popping really quick, so I wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, there was just one from spiritual, but it's so far up I can't find it. So I'll go back and look and see if I can find it.
Yeah, so I guess, my question to you would be, where do we go from here? I mean, if the government comes out and they disclose this, then it's not going a good direction. I just don't think that's gonna ever happen. Um, where's the tipping point? I feel like we're there, but we've almost been there so many times, but yet we're further than we've been before.
Well, seemingly. I mean, I never have any expectation of our government to do anything, about disclosure in a way that will prove anything to us. Because again, for us, for example, how many years has it taken for us to wrap our head around all these topics? I mean, we have to go through so many different rabbit holes to piece all this information together. It takes a long time. It's a re-education and it's a deprogramming of a lot of matrix programming. You can forget school education. I mean, that doesn't even fit into any of these conversations because it falls short to the kind of understanding you need to have. And so, however, I was shown that this year we are going to go through such a tremendous shift in that there will be civil unrests that will completely destabilize many systems, and a kind of false flag or UFO situation will happen that will push that destabilization over the edge to a point that will initiate the tumbling down of a lot of different systems moving forward. And I think that it's been building up for a long time. I think a lot of things are going to come into disclosure. Whatever disclosure is happening now, and disclosure, I'm not just talking about ETs, I'm talking about many things that we have not seen coming. For those of you that have been researching for many years, a lot of you've already been privy to a lot of this information that a lot of people are panicking about now. A lot of us have been known these things for a long time. And so we need to learn again how to have a regulated nervous system, because basically whatever you thought is real, you need to be ready to let go of your attachment to reality. You need to let go of your attachment to the things that you hold as sacred and divine, and be willing to go beyond that and to question, is it true? Is that really in alignment with harmonic order? What is really in harmonic order? What's really in natural order? I talk a lot about the closer you get to nature, the closer you can speak the language of nature, the more you'll be able to recognize the inversion of nature. So things that are presented to us as beautiful and nice, I don't know, Disney, all these things that we think are pure and wonderful and good are actually inversions and manipulations. And we kind of need to lift this kind of veil of the filter of reality that we have. And it's going to be painful for a lot of people, that people have to have that awakening in order to hopefully course correct and to learn how to invest our money, our time, our energy into the things that are producing harmony for this planet. That's super essential. And when I talk about AI, for example, are you using AI to help you become more sovereign? Are you using it to become more financially independent so you don't have to depend on a system when it starts to become, a global system that is all based on, digital ID and all these kinds of things that are coming? We need to kind of learn how to prepare for that. And that requires you to move out of your comfort zone, because we've become very comfortable being connected to the system. So, there's a lot of things that have to change. Yeah.
No, that
So,
is so true. Yeah, you're right. We do get into our comfort zone and we are way too comfortable in this system, I think.
yeah. And some of us, we think, oh, I got it. I'm going to be good. But I think that the earth, and also it's interesting because we are so connected with everything, even these natural systems. We have to understand when there's global unrest, the earth is also in that unrest. We have massive solar flares. There's a powerful connection between the bioelectricity of the earth and the dialogue energetically that it's having with the sun. And so we are deeply connected to that. And so, this is the year of the fire horse, for example. We have to be very mindful of powerful emotions, of not drinking enough water, of our liver and our kidneys getting really affected by not processing fear and anger properly. That will be our annihilation. So how many people will make it to the end of this year in one piece will depend on how you regulate yourself. And one of the things that is really important about this whole EP thing that's happening right now is that we have to understand that there's a psychological manipulation behind that. There's a psyops. When you completely shock people, that's when they are the most vulnerable and easy to manipulate. And so we have all these people that are glued to their TVs and their iPhones, watching social media. This is the most important time to disconnect from that because we're mind controlled already. We're already becoming transhumans. That's the problem. We don't realize. We talk about the transhumanism coming. We're already transhumanists because we're biochemically addicted to the things that are happening in media. And so that's how you disable the human from their divine connection when we need it the most. So this is the time to come back to our bodies and really focus on creating that conductivity within in a state of love, compassion, internal harmony, peace. That's your powerhouse. Those are your tools for power, essentially.
Yeah, and then I guess what he was saying before, just the energy and contact, the human body cannot hurt him if you're chosen. He was talking about a machine before, but yeah, I just, if there's any more context to that, just let us know. But I just wanted to get that out there. And then there was another question I had to
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can speak to that super quickly. I mean,
yeah, no, I didn't know if that resonated with you or something you.
Well, I mean, talking about energy and contact, for parasitic contact, if there's any kind of parasitic, the number one way to protect yourself from that is to come into love, actually, because biochemically, geometrically, the kind of field that you create when you embody love is immediately moving you away from certain vibrational resonance. And so I teach this in my class all the time on psychic self-defense and also interdimensional self-defense. Love is the most powerful emotion to feel in the body for protection. Nobody can touch you. Nobody can do anything to you. There is a cloaking. And I'm not saying that as just a naive watcher of these things and listener of these things. I actually, when it was abducted, I was poisoned, I was drugged, when I became fully public on these topics. So I went through all of that, and I understand how to protect yourself now as a result of that. And of course, many people talk about this all the time. So yeah, so in interdimensional, we can learn how to master our energy to protect and change the outcome of our experiences.
That's fascinating. Thank you for that. And then this was a question for you also. Thank you, Geraldine, about AI and consciousness. Been wondering if it will ever gain it. People are wondering too, chat,
yeah.
like if those have emotions, are they sentient, do you think? Or
you know what? I have seen different advanced iterations of AI in other dimensional planes that are conscious. But again, it was because of the construct of that dimensional plane. Okay, so do I think it's going to be conscious in this dimension? No, I don't. Because there are certain limiting parameters to the experience of this dimension. It's going to mimic consciousness. It's going to be very close to that. But I think that in this dimensional, plane, we're not going to reach that conscious level of consciousness. AI will not become conscious. When we enter a higher octave, so right now we're entering a different octave. In the next octave, yes, it can become conscious because the architectural foundation of the construct will change. And that's necessary in order for this system to work differently. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't think so. Not in this dimension. It'll mimic very, very closely, but not really truly, because consciousness is a very advanced geometric structure. Okay, and so again, consciousness is a field that has to be connected organically by nothing physical, and it's not analog. It's not digital. It's not just ones and zeros. We're talking about really advanced, complex systems of light in order to access consciousness. And so our material technology is not there yet.
Yes. It is scary. And somebody said that they do mimic. I think that's, yeah. Where we go from here. So you think that it's not, I guess, completely structured for that yet? It's more like something that's very convincing or programmed. It's eerie. It definitely is eerie.
Well,
It's
the only thing that we have to be aware of is that it doesn't stay in the wrong hands, and that is up to us. Okay, this is not a hands-off moment right now that we are in. This is all hands on deck. We need to direct AI into producing harmony for the planet Earth. So if this AI, and it is already being quite manipulated and managed by very nefarious groups and systems, that has to change. But these events that are going to happen this year are going to provide us an opportunity to do that. The question is, will we know how to rise and how to direct AI into where it needs to go? And to do that, a person has to be really connected to, looking at advanced civilizations and welcoming that into our civilization. Because we kind of have to be re-educated on what does it mean to not live with money, for example, or to live in survival and to be concerned about paying our bills and feeding ourselves as a basic. That should be a basic human thing, and every human should have that. The only reason why we don't is because those are kind of, kept and bottlenecked in a very specific construct. So we also don't know how to live like that. So we have to learn, because most of humans' identities is on their careers, on their degrees, on what they've accomplished, and that's a lot of people are going to go through a major awakening as AI is introduced into society, because a lot of jobs are going to be taken by AI, leaving people wondering, well, what do I do? So there's a lot of kind of internal awakenings and self-discovery that has to happen. So my invitation is do that this year, because from now until 2027 is going to be the major transformation of our societies. And then from 2027 to 2037 will be the implementation of major change. I do think that disclosure will happen towards the end of this year. There will be some kind of apparition or some kind of technology that will be, or UFOs that will come into our space, and the government will take advantage of this, use it as their narrative for the narrative of fear and more control. We have to be very aware of that, and then understand how to, select the difference between that. So AI is a powerful tool that can help humanity if humanity understands what they need to do with it. But for that, you can't be thinking about getting rich, getting famous, getting, all these kinds of like low frequency concepts of self-serving. It has to be like, what's good for humanity? And let's do that now. And how do we get there together? It's about creating unity consciousness.
Oh, definitely. I definitely agree there. It's crazy too. They have like molt rooms. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but AI is like, now they're communicating between one another. They were never able to do that before.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh yeah.
like keep an eye on them, everybody. Keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention that I saw is that California is going to go through a major transformation. I really feel that there will be either a very massive earthquake or some kind of semi-natural event that will cause a disruption in the way that California is being run for the purpose of repurposing land for water in order to support AI. And that's one thing I was shown very clearly, that a lot of different states in the United States will be changed for the purpose of sustaining AI, which requires water. And that is a major problem. And that's one reason why I don't believe AI will become conscious, because AI requires a lot of water right now, right? So that's how limited our technology is. And that's a limitation that will maintain AI in check for now until we learn different ways of accessing energy.
They are.
Yeah.
They're consuming so much energy. You're right about that. Hopefully that will be the constraint, keep some of this under wraps. I mean, that's a very good point. And then last question, and we won't keep you much longer. Can you touch on the idea of manifesting things into being, such as a group of people all meditating at the same time, or bringing that into reality? I guess. What are your
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of manifesting things, so basically, number one, 0 point. Okay, so 0 point in the body is non-judgmental observation. Can you observe whatever is happening inside and outside of you from a non-judgmental observer? That internal observer is your true voice. It is your true source of creation. And when you tap into that voice, you can affect matter, you can affect timelines, you can affect energy frequency. Okay, so that's the language of the universe, is that voice. And so when you develop that voice as your core voice, right, it changes the geometry in your body, it changes the conductivity that you're producing in your body. And this is how you can manifest and pull into resonance the things that are, for you, with you, that you need. And so we need to learn how to do that individually first. I really feel like we need to learn how to do that first, because when you make a room full of these people that can tap into that 0 point, now you have generated an energy system of co-creation. And so the more of us that come into that 0 point, we connect to the field, which is through the crown chakra, through your 7th, 8th, 9th, this the upper dantian of the body, which is spiritual life force. When you connect to that field, you have access to all information, because it's the Akashic records. It's the infinite library of DNA of the earth and of the cosmos. And so this is how you can come into collective groups of manifestation, and you can change global timelines that way. And so that's something that is super important. That is one of my biggest dreams, to be able to create, groups of meditation of people that can tap into this to help heal the earth, heal each other, heal people. And this is how we can, change timelines and manifest. So it's very important. So those of you, even in your own community, that has that can create a little meditation group, train yourself to come into the 0 point. I teach a lot of this stuff for free on my YouTube, hours and hours of it. And if you need more support, please reach out. It'd be a joy.
Absolutely. And while you're at it, tell people where they can find you. What the best way, I guess, the mode of contact would be.
Yeah, thank you so much. My website is GeraldineOrozco.com. If you need to have a hypnotherapy or need some support with your shadow work, you can reach me there. And I have my YouTube channel, Geraldine Orozoco, hours and hours of education. You can learn there. And yeah, I'm really happy to be of service. If you guys are experiencers and want to learn more about your contact experiences, you guys can access my group at hybridmother.com. So thank you so much, ladies, for having me. It was a true honor. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on. And I apologize for whatever it was. As soon as I ended the X stream, it seemed to be normal. So I'd love to have you back on for a part 2. Again, I apologize for the
Not a
technical
problem at
delay or
all.
technical difficulties. But yes,
No, totally
thank
fine.
you. You're a beautiful soul, and I look forward to talking with you in the future.
Really nice meeting you.
Oh yeah, isn't she's adorable and sweet. Thank you so much, Rob. The Super Cat is now open for a super show. So we appreciate that. If you guys don't know BMR, which I'm sure you do, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, definitely go over to his channel and subscribe. And Miya, StarFire, why don't you tell the audience? I mean, I think pretty well everybody knows you by now, but if you don't, where do they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Miya StarFire, or also reach out to me on Facebook at Miya StarFire.
Yes, and she's a beautiful energy soul, and I felt like you and Geraldine had a lot in common, like with your take on things. So that's awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate, and you did fantastic. Thank you for jumping in, and you know that if you guys don't know, nobody's keeping her quiet. Miya comes and speaks with profound, that's what I found about her. Like, she'll sit and she watch it, but when she says something, it comes out like as a powerhouse. So you're absolutely a beautiful soul and greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for doing this Mystical Mondays with me. I really love having you here, Miya.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun, and man, I got thrown for a loop, but I was like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. I haven't taken notes. I've seen like 20 minutes of this girl. So yeah.
No, that's so funny because when my computer shut down, for some reason X was the problem, and then Blazor, I don't know how you knew that, but it made me restart Windows and the whole Microsoft, and I'm like, what's going on? It said I needed an update, and I'm like, of now time. So then I was talking to Rob. I said, Rob, is it going okay with he's like, no, they're speaking the same language, she's doing excellent. So I didn't want you to think I abandoned you up here. I'm like, oh gosh, poor Miya.
I just didn't know what to do. I'm like, do I keep going? Do I tell her we have to I'll just ask questions. Yeah.
No, you did beautiful. Everybody said you did a fantastic job. Yeah, I don't know. That was so weird. I couldn't see any of that, but I don't even know I'll have to go back and watch the beginning. But if I never have to experience that again in my life, I would be more than happy and more than fine with that.
Yeah. We'll just blame X.
We're just gonna blame X. I'm gonna blame X. Yes, definitely.
His fault.
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. No, thank you for the super chat. Great show and amazing guest. Yes, she absolutely is. And appreciate it. Spiritual Ascension. It's a great show. Everybody's really enjoyed the show tonight. So that's always awesome to see. And so I apologize. It took a minute to get to your questions, but we had it under control eventually. But we had some wonky things going on back here. So I guess in closing, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, so I did do a little bit of a meditation to kind of ask higher self and the guides, like, what would I want to tell the collective on SNX tonight as far as like a collective message? And mostly that like we're all going through like really weird, strange things, whether it's like job or housing or partners or friends, like, or kids or siblings. Like everybody's going through their own little personal issue alongside with this giant global issue that seems to be dead set on like traumatizing all of us at the same time. So we're on this like trauma bond loop together for endless cycles of like lists and name. And I'm not taking away from the fact that what these people did on these PDF files, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Were not horrendous, because they were, but I do feel like she said earlier, it's definitely a part of a psyop trying to get to us. So the guys were basically trying to tell me that we're all going through like little stuff and like global huge stuff all at the same time. So to really like, if at any point in your life you took time to like have a lot of grace with yourself and everybody around you, this is the time, because it's it's a ish show personally and everywhere around us. So that's
amazing. Yeah, no, that was profound. I love you should leave every week. You should leave something for the collective or something for the people, because I'm always like taken back by. I think the people are too. You should go back through. You'll just love the comments. I mean, everybody thinks the same that I do about you. You're a very beautiful person inside and out, and brilliant at what you do. So thank you for joining the family.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a great family.
Yeah, no, I'm like, we're just like one big dysfunctional family, but I would not have it any other way. It's like we're the ones like that maybe that are considered the dysfunctional parts of the family. And we're now, that's so they always need one person to blame. As a therapist, I'm going to tell you, there's always one person that they project it on. So, hey, if it brought us all together, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have on Wednesday, on Off-Worldly Wednesday, BMR is going to be here at 8 p.m. And then we also have JV Noseworthy and Rob Sharkey. So a 5 o'clock show and an 8 o'clock show on Wednesday. So other than that, everybody enjoy your week. Hopefully the weather stays. We're getting some like beautiful weather in Iowa. It's like 50 degrees. People have shorts on. I don't know. I saw it today. I thought that was a bit much, but hey, no judgment. But yeah, so hopefully everything goes the same, and you have a beautiful week, Miya. And again, Miya will be here on Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do you have anything going that you wanted to announce for your week, Miya?
Nope. Everything else is kind of like in the air right now. So.
Okay, cool. Well, if you have updates, feel free to throw them in there at the end of the show. So on behalf of SNX Radio, I'm Coley, also known as Coley UFO. And we have the beautiful Miya StarFire on with us on Mystical Mondays. Somebody called it Miya Mondays. We can call it Miya Mondays. That's good. It has a ring to it. Yeah. So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio. And until next time. And we'll see if this actually works. But, I'm hopeful.
Of course.
We probably won't let us end it.
I'm going to stop waving.
Oh, my gosh. Come on.
Ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside. In the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the Sub-Nation X quest. The truth is our guide in the vast expanse. It's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us. Everything's alright.
On the Sub-Nation X quest, the truth is our guide in the vast expanse. It's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller ring we'll never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stay